Hello everybody, I have some packages here that I'm sure will be combined with another set of packages. So let's go ahead and have a mailbag. This first one sounds like liquid, so we're gonna cut carefully and we're gonna open it up, and we've got a little tiny squeeze bottle here, and then we have Weld-on 4. Now they have Weld-on 3, which is another similar product, but this thing is for welding, and not gluing, but welding acrylic. And so this is the faster set one. I believe the 3 is a little bit slower. Now on my laser cutter, this is one of the very first things I did on my laser cutter. You can make these boxes with these finger joints, and it's, you know, it's cool. It's a look. You know, I don't love it, but I think it is kind of cool that you can do it. And this box is put together with no glue whatsoever. It holds really well. And you can do the same thing with acrylic, but it doesn't really look very good. And then also, when you do something like this, the wood fibers compress and then expand back out, which give you a nice tight fit, but acrylic doesn't really compress. So this stuff is basically for gluing the edges. So rather than trying to do like a finger joint, you'd actually butt joint the stuff together, and this stuff actually soaks up in the fibers per se of the acrylic and welds it together. It's a solvent, so it actually melts the acrylic and basically becomes one piece. And you see, it does take a while, 80% strength in 72 hours, but it can be fixed within 3 minutes. So it is one of those things you have to let it sit for a while. Now the deal with this stuff is it evaporates very, very quickly, and it can sort of stain any other plexi that you get it on. So you've got to be really careful. Maybe I'll do a video on this if this interests you, but the idea is to spit it out, Dan. This stuff is what they use for gluing things like aquariums. So, you know, it is very strong and works very, very well. The fact that you could take, you know, 5 pieces of acrylic and glue them together and put a fish tank in it, you know, turn it into a fish tank, is pretty impressive. So I'm going to see if this stuff works for some of my acrylic projects, and I'll report back. I should say that it is made to be applied in this little teeny tiny needle thing, and when you put it next to the joint, it actually somehow, through like, I guess, a capillary type action, pulls in and then actually sucks up inside the joint. So I think it's gonna be a pretty interesting process. We'll see how it goes. Next up, we have an Amazon one, and I just cut right through the Amazon label, and this is a pack of a pack. And I know what it is, and I've been wanting it, which is why I'm doing the mailbag now. This is not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but if I remember correctly, 6 pairs of soldering tweezers, and these are the ones that are supposedly, I've heard mixed reviews on if they are, but they're supposed to be ceramic, and so the idea is they can get incredibly hot and solder does not stick to them. And so let's see, is that really ceramic? That's the question. So they come in 3 different styles. You've got kind of an angled set, a straight set, and more of this sweeping angle set. And the ends are aligned good enough for my purposes, but the idea is that you should be able to crank up the soldering iron. If you accidentally bump it in there, shouldn't be a problem. Now they are replaceable. I don't know if they even sell the replacement tips for them. I'm guessing they do. I do have some of these other metal tip ones, and these are really good, but they're really sharp. And I think this is probably a little bit more of what I need. So let me go ahead and get the Hacko and see what happens if I put 800 degrees or so on these things. So we are at 800 degrees Fahrenheit, and this thing is not melting at all. When I first touched these things, I thought that they were plastic, but they are clearly not plastic, and that's pretty cool. So let's see, we can see where I've dripped a little bit of solder on them, but let's see, does it just come right off? Yeah, it just comes right off. So these things are solder resistant and heat resistant, and I feel like it was right around 10 bucks or so for a pack of 6 of these. So now I am stocked up on ceramic tweezers. I did want to pop in here real quick and just say that I know I said in the video that there were 2 of each kinds of tweezer, but that's not actually true. There is a set of reverse tweezers and a set of traditional tweezers in each of these shapes. And I think this is pretty cool because you can just grab this thing and let it go and it will hold the thing, and then at times you may want to squeeze and pick things up with a little bit more control. These things have a lot of squeezing power on them. I mean, they're very strong. And I actually did just drop one of these while I was cleaning off the desk, and nothing broke or anything. I watched it hit my concrete floor straight down on the tip and didn't break. So my initial impressions of these things are that they are pretty cool. Next up is a package that I have no idea what it is. There's a chance that Banggood sent me something I asked for a long time ago, and they did. This is kind of funny. I mean, I haven't talked to Banggood in months, and they sent me this thing. So speaking of soldering and speaking of tweezers, we have soldering tweezers. This is the 938 soldering tweezers, and I'll tell you why I got these. Let's go ahead and open it up and kind of give it, I don't know that I'm doing a review on this thing, so let's give it a little bit of time in this video. This is the Yuhua soldering tweezers. This is the instruction manual in English, caution, and we have an operation instruction in English, and we have, oh, this is kind of cool. This is partially worth the cost of admission here. We have all these little proby tools, and we've got little brass brushes and other kinds of brass brushes, and we have hooks and more hooks and screwdrivers, flat blade type things, angled blade type things, prying type things. Now this looks like it would make a very good chip extractor. I don't know if you can see that, but that looks almost exactly like my Wifi chip extractor right here. Now the Wifi feels a little bit better, but that is pretty cool to have it bundled in there. These are one of my least favorite things in existence. These little soldering pumps, they do technically work, but I've got the Hacko desoldering gun, so I will never, ever, ever use this. Look at this. It came with 3 of the same type of metal tweezers that I have over here. This is kind of fun. I wasn't really expecting this much stuff. I had no idea what this was. I mean, I'm saying I probably asked for this back in February, something like that. It's a little sealed. I asked for this something like February, and it just kind of sat there, and they never sent it to me. Oh, it's a little stuck. And so I thought there was no chance I was going to get it, and I stopped asking for stuff from Banggood, and then out of nowhere, this thing just came in. Now that is childproof. I'm going to let that go because I don't really care. We have a paintbrush, which I'm guessing would be for maybe flux or something like that. This is a very complete kit. I feel like it was something like $60 or something on their website on banggood.com. I'll leave a link to it in the description. Okay, we're going to set that off to the side here. Let's get the other little thingies out, and we'll just dump this. This is a very complete kit. So we have some of this brass-ish stuff for cleaning the tip. We have some solder wick for desoldering. We have some solder, what they give us here, some tin desoldering integrated expert. And it does not say, just says no clean flux, contain no flux, no clean flux. Does not give you the meteorological makeup of it, but it does come with a stand, and I can already tell you that this stand is way better than my much aligned Hacko desoldering iron stand. This thing is nice. It's got a little communion wafer sponge there. I wonder how much. Let's see how much that'll pop up. Oh, look at that. That actually did, I don't know if you can tell, that actually did fluff up a lot, more than I was expecting. But it has a very nice bespoke holder for it. And as you can, oh, look at this. This is cool. So, well, I wouldn't put it that way, but you would put it maybe this way. That's cool. So there's actually a holder up here that'll hold all these little tools they gave you in a weird angle. And then the main attraction is this thing right here, and this is a pair of soldering tweezers. Now, the reason why I asked for these is because I was doing some soldering or some desoldering of resistors. And I actually wound up just using 2 irons. I thought like the easiest thing to do was actually take 2 soldering irons and poke them in there. And then I saw that they had these, which, I mean, they look like 2 soldering irons. You can take the tips off them and stuff like that. Looks like you can adjust, oh nice, you can adjust how far they start, I guess the furthest they can go apart. And then here, wow, we actually have like a digital with a readout, switchable between Celsius and Fahrenheit, of the temperature. That's pretty impressive, I'm not gonna lie. Man, I feel like this thing does deserve its own video, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it. But so far, I think this is really, really cool. So as much as I'd like to fire this thing up right now, the more I look at this stuff, I do think it deserves its own video. It won't be a very long video, but I have some stuff that I can desolder with it. And wow, I like that. Yeah, I was not expecting to like this thing this much. I just thought it would serve an immediate need. So yeah, I'm gonna do a video of this separately, even though Banggood didn't ask me to. All right, so I was in the middle of editing this thing and I realized it's Mailbag 50 and I didn't feel like you were getting your money's worth with the stuff that I had in there. So let's freaking go and get some more stuff, because it's Mailbag 50. All right, we've got one here from DigiKey. I normally don't put the DigiKey footage in the mailbags. It's normally kind of the first thing to get cut. And I'm gonna go through this just kind of quickly, because I've got a lot of new stuff to get into this mailbag that was like 11 minutes when I was editing. So we've got a bunch of chips. We've got cereal chips. We've got, these are RAM chips. We've got logic chips. We've got more logic chips. We've got capacitors. I like these longer holders. We've got more logic chips. Got more capacitors. More logic chips. These are crystals. We have crystals, if you're into that sort of thing. We've got capacitors. And that looks like about it. So these are for those Tandy 3-in-1 cards that I made about 6-7 months ago. People have been asking me over and over again if I would make more of them. So I just decided I would do another order to make 10 of those things. Not going to be videoing it or anything like that. But, you know, I just want to point out, like, I do get extra PCBs from PCBWay and stuff like that. And occasionally, if you have a lot of interest in a board that I made on the channel, I'd be happy to figure out a way to get you one. Now, I can't make any promises. I don't even really enjoy soldering that much. And this is obviously a lot of soldering. But, you know, in this case, I like the Tandy community, so I thought that I'd go ahead and make 10 more of these cards. Next up, speaking of PCBWay, this is not sponsored, but I thought I'd go ahead and open it up because I would show you what I'm getting. And some of this stuff is for sponsored videos for the channel, and some of it is just for my own personal projects. It'll probably all wind up on the channel sometime, but there are a lot of PCBs in here and I'm pretty excited about it. So we've got these Christmas tree PCBs. Now these are made to fit on top of a Raspberry Pi, and so I'm making a video where I'm gonna pop this thing on top of a Raspberry Pi and use it to demonstrate Node Red. And so we're gonna learn a little bit of Node Red, and we're gonna make the Christmas tree light up, and we're gonna do some fun stuff with that. This is a Raspberry Pi breakout board, which could be pretty handy for some prototyping applications. I'll get to these in a second. This is, let's see here. This is the blue SCSI. And so if you have any kind of old Macintosh or anything like that that uses SCSI, you can actually take one of those STM32 blue pill devices, cost about $3 a piece, and pop it on here and make an SD card to SCSI device with it. So I'll be playing around with one of these things. I don't know if you know, but SCSI, it was expensive back in the day, and it's very expensive now. And so it's got this 50-pin connector here, and it's to find old drives that still work is pretty hard, but this thing doesn't actually use a lot of components. You've got to put the little SD card reader on there, you've got to put the blue pill on there, and a couple of resistor networks, but other than that, it actually doesn't take a whole lot of parts and shouldn't be a lot of work, and I got 10 of those. This one is for a Commodore, and so it has 2 cartridges on one. It's got a dead test cartridge and a diagnostic cartridge. So you put a ROM over here and a ROM over here, and you put it in, and you can use it for diagnosing your Commodore 64s. So I think that's kind of fun. And this is for the TRS-80 Model 4. This is called the FRED, the FREHD, and it is an SD card hard drive for the TRS-80 Model 4. So again, you may not have ever seen these things, and you know, I'm gonna try to make any retro stuff interesting. I know that not all of you guys are into retro, but I think there's little bits and pieces that we can learn throughout the time looking at this stuff. So I'm going to make it quick, and I'll make it fun and simple. And then this is another thing I've been kind of telling you guys about with all these boards. Again, this is not a sponsored video, but PCBWay offers this stuff crazy cheap. And so I was looking on eBay because I needed this little PCB, and it was like, I think $11 each. I'll pop one up on the screen. Rather than trying to explain it, I just thought I'd show you. This is one of the little $11 adapters. And you can see it's got a 34 pin connector on there, and these are the PCBs for it. But as you can see, if you put this on here, it allows you to take the old style cables that used to go on the 5 1/4 inch drive and plug them into the more modern drive. And why that matters is a lot of these really old computers that I have from the 80s, they have really nice cables that are perfectly made. I don't want to cut them up or anything like that. And this will allow me to put more modern drives inside those computers. And a lot of times I'm just doing that for diagnosis. So I really don't want to take the whole thing apart. I don't want to mess up the original cabling. I just want to make an adapter. And so with these things being like $11 on eBay, I didn't really want to spend that much money. And one of the things that's kind of funny is when you're, again, not a commercial, but when you're on PCBWay.com, you can sit there and decide like how many you want. And a lot of times getting a bunch more doesn't actually cost very much more. So it was like $23, something like that, for 50 of these things. And so now I have some for my friends, and plenty of them. If I wanted to sell them, I could, but I just got a whole bunch of these things, and like basically a lifetime supply for me and everybody I know. And it really didn't cost any more than buying 2 or 3 of these outright. All right, next up, we've got one from Amazon, and I definitely know what this is. All right, so my address is in the way. I'm just gonna go ahead and show it to you like this. This is the Orbi, not quite, I don't think officially mesh Wi-Fi system. It's mesh-ish, and the idea is that it's got a satellite and some base stations. I originally bought the first one of these because I installed a Ring doorbell at my in-laws house, and they just didn't quite have enough Wi-Fi up front to make it reliable. And that's one of the things you got to think about when you put something like that in. And so rather than messing around with other little extender technologies and stuff like that, I looked this up, and this actually got really good reviews. It's a it's about $100 for the set, and it has a base station and 2 satellites. Now, I don't like the fact that you have to use an app to get it started. Like, that just really annoys me doing networking. I don't know if I can show you the QR codes on here, so I'm just not going to. But essentially, these things are, this is the actual Wi-Fi extender, and then there's 2 satellites which basically look exactly the same. They just plug in and can sync together. And like I said, this was $100 and got really good performance in their house, and they've had it for, I guess, 2 months now, and have been really happy with it. And so overall, like, you know, I think it's a good option for something like this. The other reason why I kind of wanted something like this is as I'm upgrading my network, I am segmenting my network and segregating my network, and so I wanted to separate the Wi-Fi from the actual router using some more business class type stuff. So I did not want my Wi-Fi as part of my router. So again, having used this for a couple of months, I mean, my in-laws just rave about it, and so I decided to splurge on one for myself. All right, next up, we've got one thing that isn't electronics, to stick with me because I've got something cool after this too. This is a bike tire, and there's actually 2 of them right here. This is a bike tire. These are the Schwalbe Marathons. I've ridden the bike across America, if you didn't know. And, you know, flat tires suck. And my wife had been riding her bike to the gym, and actually brought her bike back to the house and set it inside, and the sidewall of the tire just blew, which is really fortunate for it to blow when she was at the house, and that's probably on me for not checking for dry rot on things like that. But you know, the thing is, like, my wife rides her bike to the gym sometimes, and you know, time is money. Like, I can't really afford to have her sitting on the side of the road, you know, me looking up some Uber person that has a big enough car to go pick her up, because I'm certainly not going to do it. But anyway, so rather than seeing her stranded on the side of the road, or the Uber driver seeing her stranded on the side of the road, I decided to get her the same quality tires that I would use to ride across the country. Again, the Schwalbe Marathons, these things are pretty much indestructible, although I hate the way they ship them. You know, this thing does not necessarily want to go back into shape properly, and that could make it a royal pain just to mount the thing. So that's just really annoying for a company who does this for a living. You think that maybe they wouldn't suck at shipping them, but I've actually had to return multiples of these tires because of the way they packed them for shipping. So like, I'm just not, this is a bead. You know, this has to mount on something, and it's all twisted and jacked up. And so, not terrible. This is not as bad as the old one, but I don't like the way they do that on the wire bead. And last but not least, speaking of in-laws, I was at Direct Tools. That was not a good cut. Getting a gift for an in-law, and I saw that they had this. And I am 1 to 2 days away from a hurricane bearing down on me. And so I thought this was kind of cool. This was $25, but it was actually free if you bought another Ryobi tool. So that was kind of nice. This is a little 120 watt inverter. Now, that's not giant, but it's a 120 watt inverter that connects to a standard Ryobi battery. So a couple things I thought about. One is, it's kind of cool just to have this little topper thingy here that I could put on and maybe do some stuff. That's kind of weird that goes, I guess it makes sense, that I could do stuff with the Ryobi batteries. I thought that was kind of cool to just have this little adapter thingy. And then obviously, one of the cool things, if I can actually get this undone, is that this thing can power the inverter. So I've got this Kaiweets meter here that auto ranges, which is kind of nice because you can actually take this thing, if you've never seen it, you can take it over here and put it on DC, and it'll measure DC. There we go. It'll measure DC. And you can also put this on here and turn this thing on, and just go ahead and stick the probe straight in there and measure AC, and you can see we're getting 123 volts. So yeah, this little inverter I think could be pretty handy for power outages, camping, and stuff like this. Now, they do make a 150 watt version that just sits on top of a battery, which I think that form factor is way better. But the cool thing about this is it's $25, and that is $90. I've been waiting for that thing to go on sale for a long time. The other thing is this also has the 12 volt cord, so you can double up and use it with your car. Now, again, you're not going to power a whole lot with a 150 watt inverter, but it's kind of nice to have the option to dual power. You can run from the car, you can run from battery, and I've got probably 30 of these batteries, so kind of cool to have the option, you know, for a hurricane. So you got two USBs here, 2.4 amps, 5 volts, and yeah, no flashlight. I mean, they could have probably built a couple of extra features in there, but this thing is cheap, $25. So so far, I mean, you know, first impressions is a good idea. It may catch fire and, you know, burn down my house in the middle of a hurricane, but we'll see. So anyway, I hope you had a great day, and I hope you enjoyed the mailbag video. Thank you for supporting me through 50 of these things and 10,000 subscribers. That's ridiculous. So yeah, have a great day. Thanks for watching.